Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're doing something a little different. We're actually unpacking a really foundational English lesson plan, one that's designed for absolute beginners. We're going to dive right in and explore the specific methodologies they use to build fluency literally from day one. It's fascinating how instructors use everyday home objects to completely bypass textbook learning and just create this immediate, practical understanding.
The core philosophy here? It's incredibly simple. Prioritize confidence over grammar, right? By focusing on real, everyday English in really small, bite-sized steps, this lesson completely avoids cognitive overload. Actually, looking at the production notes for this material, they explicitly state that the primary goals are direct thinking and building a speaking habit. So they intentionally leave all those complex, intimidating grammar rules totally out of the equation for now.
Okay, so the lesson kicks off with super familiar objects first, like a phone. And instead of hitting you with rapid-fire vocabulary lists, the methodology uses a very slow delivery. In fact, it often recommends an audio speed of just 70 to 80% of normal, and it forces these deliberate 3-second pauses. Why? Because that gives the student a chance for immediate repetition without feeling overwhelmed.
Now, notice how this method forces a direct, physical connection between the spoken word and the actual object, like a chair. This is a highly deliberate tactic to just entirely bypass the student's native language. The goal here isn't to mentally translate the word from their mother tongue. No, it's to instantly associate that new English sound with the physical thing they sit on every single day. By keeping visual distractions to an absolute minimum, I mean literally just presenting a table or maybe a simple cup of water, the curriculum makes sure the learner's cognitive focus stays 100% on enunciation and memory. The teacher notes are super clear on this. Very simple visuals work best. Throwing in too much visual information can actually completely destroy a beginner's fragile confidence. It's wild, but true. Then, instructors are specifically guided to heavily over-articulate those starting and ending consonant sounds when they introduce words like door. This is so crucial. It makes sure learners really grasp the phonetic boundaries of these simple, single-syllable words way before they're ever asked to string them together into a full thought. And here's the kicker. They enforce a strict cap of just 5 basic words per lesson, finishing up here with water. This totally lines with their golden rule, never, ever overload beginners. They found that 5 words are exactly enough to lay a solid foundation without triggering that awful frustration we all know comes with early language learning. All right. Next, the framework starts bridging these isolated words into simple syntax. So a phrase like, "this is a phone," sneaks in sentence structure implicitly without ever even whispering the word grammar. It's brilliant. The student ends up learning the actual mechanics of English phrasing entirely through context and pattern recognition. From there, descriptive connectors are layered in. By connecting the object they just learned to a basic state, like the chair is brown, they're building vocabulary while keeping the safety net of a familiar noun. It's this gentle, additive process that just feels totally manageable. Now, here's something really interesting. Instructors give these generous 5-second processing windows, allowing students to absorb the structure of the door is open at their own pace. And these enforced silences, they are absolutely crucial. They literally provide the mental breathing room the brain needs to categorize and store these new phonetic patterns. Then, the lesson shifts gears from just observation to personal necessity. I need water introduces action, right? It introduces personal stakes, anchoring the language to basic survival needs. So suddenly, the vocabulary isn't just describing things anymore. It becomes an actual tool for navigating the real world. Finally, capping off the sentence block with, "the table is small," the lesson hits its maximum limit of 5 sentences. And again, having this strict boundary is absolutely vital for maintaining learner morale. The creators know that mastering 5 sentences perfectly is infinitely more valuable than just stumbling your way through 20. Next up, the curriculum moves into a dedicated repetition phase. It essentially hands the reins entirely over to the student to start building independent speaking habits. And the pacing? It stays deliberately slow, completely prioritizing accuracy and comfort over speed. So during this recall phase, the instructor takes a step back. Students are prompted to recite those previously learned phrases completely from memory. This actively reinforces those new neural pathways. By repeating phrases like, "this is a phone," and "the door is open," out loud into quiet space, the learner transitions from just passive listening to actual active speaking. This repetition isn't just a memory game, it's heavily about physical mouth mechanics. It's getting the learner physically accustomed to forming these English sentences in a super low-pressure environment. That physical act of speaking out loud actually helps to override the entrenched muscle memory of their native language.
A simple story. Amina is at home.
So the lesson culminates in this little micro-narrative. By combining all those nouns and structures into a short story about Amina studying at home, the vocabulary is finally contextualized in a real-world scenario. This proves to the beginner that they already have the building blocks they need to understand an actual story, which, as you can imagine, is a massive confidence booster.
And that brings us to the source material's absolute most critical rule: direct connection. To train automatic thinking, the curriculum insists learners associate English words directly with real objects, completely bypassing mental translation. Because think about it, if you translate in your head first, you instantly lose conversational fluency. To enforce this habit, the lesson plan literally asks students to map their physical environment. They have to physically point to a chair or touch their phone in their own room to anchor the vocabulary to their immediate reality. By actually touching the object while speaking its English name, they're cementing a powerful, multi-sensory connection.
Then, the speaking practice segment relies entirely on simple, open-ended questions like, "What is on your table?" This forces the student to generate independent thoughts instead of just parroting back what the teacher said. It basically demands active cognitive engagements. Follow-up questions then push for descriptive language, challenging the student to retrieve adjectives like color or size without any grammatical prompting. This structure really forces them to rely on the noun-adjective pairings they just practiced, completely solidifying the core concepts of the lesson. By wrapping up the practice with a yes or no environmental question, the instructor guarantees the learner ends on an easily achievable win. I mean, confirming whether a door is open takes minimal vocabulary, but it still provides that huge satisfaction of successfully completing a real conversational exchange. From there, the curriculum targets specific phonetic hurdles that beginners notoriously struggle with. They do dedicated pronunciation training explicitly for tricky sounds, like the W sound in water and the R sound in door. They repeat them slowly to fix any native language interference right away, long before bad habits have a chance to form. Ultimately, the overriding philosophy of this whole curriculum is patience. It completely operates on the principle that language grows slowly. It relies on steady, daily micro-steps rather than those intense, overwhelming cram sessions. It truly treats fluency as a habit to be cultivated, not a test you have to pass. The lesson wraps up by leaving the student with a prompt to identify a new object tomorrow. But for us, as educators and language enthusiasts, it leaves us with a much larger question to ponder. If stripping away grammar and focusing purely on confident, direct association works this incredibly well for beginners, where else in our education systems are we completely overcomplicating the basics?